Hi, Madis.
Hi.
Thank you for coming to the podcast. I want to start with the question, what do you do today? And also, how did you get into what you do today?
Okay. So I'm currently like semi-sabbatical still, I would say, but doing quite a lot of consultancy work, and mostly I help other founders from the experience that I gained from building my own company, and it's mostly about fundraising and pitch decks and all this early stage struggle that we went through for about 4 years. And it's combining like business side and also design side. How do you design the company and everything, visual or non-visual?
So you've been a founder yourself, but now you're in a sabbatical, yeah?
Yes.
And what does this mean for you, this sabbatical? What and why did you go for it? Welcome to Inner Power Particles. I'm Farhad, the host of the podcast. We talk with entrepreneurs and leaders about how they have solved the challenges in their life or business and how it has transformed into new inner strength in them. And with this we want to help that you also can look at your life or business situations and see how you can solve the challenges in them and through that transform them also into new inner strengths, inner power particles in you. Enjoy the show.
It started when I exited the company. I was one of the co-founders and CEO of the company, and the sabbatical for me means like a longer break from work. It's not a vacation. It's a longer break where at that time I wasn't actively involved with anything. So now why I say it's semi-sabbatical is that I'm not actively involved in one specific thing yet, but I'm doing some work already. Yeah. And looking around and somewhat I'm also like what I've been doing quite a lot is I keep having lots of interesting ideas that I could work on, and then I'm doing lots of kind of discovery and thinking through those ideas, somewhat even like building business canvases or pitch decks for those ideas to kind of evaluate the story and the potential and the market, and then have some discussions around with people and kind of stress test those ideas. Okay. If they're worth working on.
You know, for those who are listening and don't know you personally, just to put things in perspective, could you share a bit just what was the size or state of the company when you exited, and what do you mean when you exit? Because different people might have different pictures about it.
Yes. I was there a bit over 4 years, and so the stage was basically still in seed. But we were aiming towards like potentially stepping into the growth stage and the Series A soon. But yeah, I raised 3 rounds of funding. I built a like 20 people team. We had like 400 paying companies. For more context, it's a B2B SaaS platform for construction companies, mostly like smaller construction companies, subcontractors, and so on. And the stage, yeah, I basically directed the company also into a flow where it could get into cash flow positive and survive. There was like tough times, and I had to lay off half of the team at one moment, which helped a lot actually in regards of kind of stability. It was the moment where the whole world kind of started to go down in multiple ways. We were like post-corona, then the war started, and the whole economy was kind of out of balance. And we did not deliver also the results from UK market that I was planning for. Later on, of course, we realized that the UK market is actually not even our target market or perfect market, and some other countries are way better in global sense. But yeah, the moment was when I exited we were already in like a stable path. The fundraising market was kind of shuddering and not really easy to fundraise, while our own performance metrics were not ideal where we wanted to aim at that moment. Then it was way more safer to kind of predict that, okay, do we run out of money in the next 8 months, or do we get cash flow positive in the next 8 months? So those were the decisions, and so it was easy, kind of like hard decision that was like in hindsight quite easy actually.
But you had 400 paying customers, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So
and now it's even more. Like the company is still healthy and working on, and there is a really strong team. and everything is in many ways really good actually.
Yeah. Curious to ask you, it's okay if you do not reveal it, I'm not speaking about exact number, but when you exited, was it like you left and then you had some profit also from leaving the company, or you went away with, so to say, €1 in your pocket? What type of situation was it?
Yeah. I mean, it was somewhere in between, I would say. It was not. I did not get rich in a like traditional way, but I also did not have to go to work for a salary immediately. I had like a relatively soft cushion to drop on from that exit. So there and that enabled me to like give myself that sabbatical and actually like I was almost like a half year that I didn't like work on actively on anything that would actually bring money in. So that enabled me to think things through a bit more, look into myself, try to understand why am I here and what I should do.
But let's delve into this first. Why, and if you can port yourself back to that time, then why did you decide to make this move? Or if there were some forces, what made you make this move? I don't know. And then second question, what have you gained from doing this move, and do you have any regrets or so?
So first, how I got into that decision, it was a quite a long journey. I had like the first feelings about that I want to do that like quite relatively early on.
How long before?
I think 2 years, up to 2 years, roughly like that, before actually leaving. And it was somewhat, even now looking back, I understand that, that was the moment probably, but I did not realize at that time myself that it was not like a conscious thing that I admitted to myself, I think I should leave. but it was a long process, and eventually it came back to the point that I did not have much like connection and passion for the topic, for the problem that we were solving, for the industry. And I started mostly just to start the company. I wanted to build startup for the sake of building a startup. And obviously it's in all of us, a bit more in some, a bit less in other, is the urge for some outside validation and fame, and also of course money. Like I seemed pretty good idea, like I could get rich, like why not? Sounds good. But then after like learning more and more about like how really successful companies are built and how the resistance of really long time, like I was planning at first that okay, we should do it for like at least 10 years if needed, like that is a path that we are consciously taking. But after a while, like I went through, like I would say, like one of the fastest years of self-development during those years as well, and that taught me that I did not really have the underlying values in line, or like the reasons in line why I'm building that specific company here with those specific people. And that realization made me, and before I consciously understood that this is not in line, and I think the like deep core passion and need to solve that problem in the world, since it was not there, this did not help me very much to carry through the tough times as well. I went through many different like hardships and tough times during building the company, but it was mostly just pure self-discipline, or like just forcing myself through it, like I have to go through it, because I've promised other people that I will go through those stuff as well.
So you realized that what the company is doing and what you feel is valuable or meaningful do not match, yes? But why leave the company? Why not turn the company into something? Or you didn't consider such option at that time?
I did consider a bit, but I mean, it was so deeply entangled into what product we had already built, what value does it bring to the customers that we are serving, and what are those, like what are those problems that they have, and what is it solving, and also I think other founders who are still there, the new CEO and all of them, they had way more kind of background from the industry and the urge to solve that thing that they are working on. They loved it and they enjoyed it way more. I enjoyed more about the fact of just like going through the game and building this company and this startup. And
Yeah. So the company itself was aligned with the product and the market,
Yes,
and the
yes,
other
yes,
team
yes.
members also.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, then
yes,
to
yes.
shift it would be to
Yeah.
destroy something that is potentially
Exactly.
working
Exactly.
well.
And to follow up a bit, I did consider that I have the opportunity to make bigger changes there as well.
Yeah.
But then I understood like it reflects back to a feeling that I had multiple times over the years before, which was the feeling of I'm stuck in my own company.
Yeah.
I felt that a lot in some moments, and this was the main kind of feeling that I realized that something is wrong. Why I'm feeling stuck, because I have all those promises and I cannot leave, but I kind of want to leave. And when I was trying to make that conscious decision that do I make this big shift to make this company more aligned with my kind of passions and values, or should I leave and let the other people build it as it's going right now? Then I quickly understood that if I would start to change it, then I will make myself even more stuck in a place that I feel stuck right now.
And what about aftermath? So now what, a year has passed since?
Almost, yeah, almost.
So how do you feel about the decision that you took?
Now I feel really good. At first I felt really good. Then there was moments where I had heavy kind of identity crisis, like who am I now? Should I go back to designing? Because majority of my career has been like around design and products. Or should I switch into more other kind of executive roles, join another company as a, I don't know, CPO, CFO, or whatever, like topics that I really liked while I was building my own company. And there was like, there was moments of regret. There was moments of kind of not understanding what direction should I go. And then it was like waves of different feelings, different emotions. And it has been really, in some sense, looking back, like a great experience, but it wasn't pleasant all the time. In some sense, even I felt that the roller coaster started after I left, in some sense. But in myself. Before it was kind of more outside, and the rest of the team was also there with me in all those exciting times, with all the ups and downs. But after it was a roller coaster more inside, but it was super necessary one. I felt that it has been really good year for looking inside a bit more, building more, I think, some acceptance about how things are and who I am. Really, even with all, accepting a bit more the flaws that I have, the things that I can't do the same way that others can, and all that related to kind of self-discovery, self-acceptance.
I think this is what you're speaking about, is that you took a sabbatical, and during that time you experienced these waves, as you call it. I think it's absolutely normal, and also such waves can be experienced even later, because when we start something new, and if it doesn't immediately pick up, we again start to doubt. But then it's always good to return to those core questions. Who am I? What's my passion? What are my values? Because eventually, anyway, most businesses, we need to persist through years, as you said, yes? And then it makes sense to persist through something that is valuable, subjectively valuable. And how were the things in terms of relationships? When you are leaving a company where you were CEO, how did that go in terms of relationships with other co-founders, with team, with investors? What are some learnings from that?
The main learning was that I was scared about that specific aspect of leaving the most. Yes, all the relationships, all the promises that I've made to the team, all the stories that I've told my family and my friends and to the public, to the investors. I was scared about that the most, and afterwards the reality was that this was the least of those problems, or kind of what may have surfaced afterwards. And it was I think quite a even somewhat pleasant experience because I received so much support and compassion from other people, and I think some of those relationships even went better afterwards.
Yeah.
Like they changed a bit, I think, but I think in a better direction, not in worse. And one founder left even before me, and I think now after I've also left, I think I have a huge respect for him, and even though we went through our multiple different conflicts over the years, but I have huge respect for him, and we get along really well now, and I think better than we were than when I was still there.
Yeah.
And some investors as well. I mean, investors really kind of supported me while making the decision and respected how it actually went down eventually. And the main investors and main people from those VCs that I spoke the most while I was building the company are the ones that I still speak the most, and even with one or two of them even more than I did when I was working there.
Uh-huh.
And we have had many opportunities of working now together on other startups and other topics.
But I would assume this depends on with what attitude you communicate that you are leaving and what deal you want to make out of it. And how did you find this balance between, I will put two extremes. One extreme would be to, okay, here are my shares, bye. Another extreme is like, I will squeeze out maximum from you now when I'm leaving, yes. And then in between, somewhere there is the middle ground.
Yeah. I mean, of course, I had those ideas like, okay, I'm leaving now. I'm getting some money to end up go to the sabbatical. Like, is there a point of trying to maximize that? But I understood quite quickly that there is first the company cannot just financially allow it, and at the same time keeping the shares or like not like giving them like a clean state. Like my philosophy at that moment was that I wanted to give them a clean state where they had all the cards and all the possibilities to keep going, to keep fundraising, keep building the unicorn, because there is a threshold that like next VCs can say it's okay or handle how much kind of inactive founder or team shares there are. There's like different numbers, but there is like quite a okay standard how they think about it.
This, by the way, what you said, it yes, for us it seems obvious. Maybe there are people for whom it doesn't seem obvious. Yeah, meaning that if you leave, if it's I don't know, A or B even around company, better leave clean and leave the shares for the team.
Yes. No, and my philosophy was that if I'm keeping the shares, then the company is it's becoming way more harder for them to keep going in this startup or unicorn story and fundraise more, and this is like a big blocker for them for going that. So I'm keeping a bigger chunk of shares in a company that has way more potential to succeed. Compared to the fact that I give away maybe keep a small percentage in a company that has a better chance of succeeding. So it was it was really easy choice for me.
So really. How was it? You put an offer and then it got accepted, or you got some negotiation? How?
I mean, yeah, there was some negotiation. There was moments that went really emotional, but eventually, I mean, I think we got a good deal.
Okay.
Everybody agreed that both sides got what they wanted eventually.
Yes.
And all the shareholders were really happy. I mean, I got many messages from investors and other shareholders that they really respect and like how it was played out.
There's this principle that if in such situations, during the process, everyone gets slightly disappointed, that it means there's some equilibrium reached in this.
Yes.
And if there's one who's like, and others like, then it's not a good situation.
Yeah. I mean, we still use the same philosophy that we used a lot during building the company, which is like, things have to be fair.
Yeah.
But then there is a debate still, like what is fair from someone's perspective, and aligning that like what is fair was still the root essence of some conflict, but and discussions. But eventually, I mean, like, we're still friends. We still communicate. We still like each other. We still talk. I helped them a bit afterwards as well. That was part of the deal, and so. So I think it played out really well, but it was, the core value was like, it has to be fair.
There is this one aspect which you shared, that you had a feeling and then eventually you acted upon this feeling.
Yes.
And this is not something rational thought that, I don't know, you read in a book or someone told you, or you just one morning woke up with a thought, but you follow the feeling. And this topic of feeling or intuition, it comes again up and up in many conversations with CEOs and founders. And I feel that you have developed this ability to hear and act upon your feeling. This is your inner strength. Now the question is, how can someone who is either feeling that I don't hear I don't understand my feelings, develop this ability? What's your, now in retrospect, what's your take on it?
I think they like use someone else, talk with someone else is the easiest one. If you have, it depends. Like, for example, for me, mentors have worked really well. So have somebody who you can share the burden with, and they will just listen in what you're saying, and they are capable of filtering out some tiny things and recognizing something that you might not see when you're submerged in the whole topic and feelings yourself. So that helps. Another way, what you can do alone is write down things, write down your thoughts and write down your feelings or the decisions that you have made, or decisions that you are afraid to make or you don't want to make, and journal or write somewhere. It doesn't really have to be a journal in a classical way. You can write it in your notes in your phone or wherever. I realized quite like recently, I think during the last year now, that like I've been telling myself that I just started journaling physically in a book like a year ago. Basically the same day I went away from Vermont, I opened it up and decided that I'm going to write down now things that they go through, or I think. But during that process I realized that actually I've been journaling for many years. It's just in the format of typing it in my phone or in my computer in the notes, like just kind of writing through what I'm trying to say to somebody, writing through some potential conflict emerging emails or Slack messages. Most of the time you realize that you cannot really do it in a written format if it's already like has a feeling inside that it might like bring up conflict, and then it's always better to have face-to-face conversations and clearings with people that you have some beef with, basically. But yeah, I would say the easiest one is like find somebody you can talk with who has a neutral view on the thing that you have. It is better that if it's not your life partner, your wife or your husband at home, because they have like
vested interest.
They vested interest, exactly. So it's better to have somebody who is totally neutral. They don't know much about your company, maybe even. They eventually will learn if you keep that discussion going on. But they're not invested. They don't have that emotional baggage that you have with that topic. Or
I want to follow up on this, what you said about mentors, my experience, and how for me it's different, for example, from talking with a friend. When I talk with a friend, sometimes it's like this type of conversation, but when it's with a mentor and I know that he is like switching on super kind of sharp perception, like I'm trying to be maximally present, and it's not that the mentor is telling me how things are, but he's just asking, so how are things? And I answer, and he's looking and asking, so is it really so? And I hear that if I will say yes, I will be lying. This is this moment when somehow this other person helps me to feel what I feel actually.
Yes.
And then to him maybe I can say yes, but then already I know inside what's the real answer then.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. And actually, most of the time when I realize something during my mentoring sessions is they don't have to tell me anything. I just mumble and go through the stuff, and while I am talking about it, then I realize, oh, okay, now I understand what's going on, and then it's okay, thank you.
Yes.
So it's but I think it's the context and setup of that discussion, so that you know that it is somebody who, you don't have any other relationship going on right now, other than this mentorship.
Yes.
I think that itself is valuable for creating the right context for you to having the freedom to speak out everything that you might want to.
Yeah.
And it will surprise you. Even if you start going to those sessions consciously, they will surprise you. They surprised me a lot, even after I've been doing it for years.
Mm-hmm. And to conclude this topic, what type of mentorship are you talking about? There are, like I know from our clients, they've been in accelerators, they've been in mentoring programs, they've been in various.
Well, I've been in Cocoon, where the mentorship was like business startup oriented, founder oriented mentorship with psychology angle. I think that was a good combination for me. And then from there, I also learned that some topics I most probably want to talk with like a clinical therapist. So I went to a psychologist as well, and that helped a lot with some other topics. I think I learned to have a combination of multiple ones.
Can you how one is different from the other?
I mean, going to like actual like therapy or psychologist session, they have some background in, or some more specific background in schooling, how they work. And in the business mentorship, there are like, of course you can always like choose and find the right fit, and I think that this is the toughest one, to find the right fit from the mentor. But in the business mentorship side, there is more understanding of the context that you are in. Majority of the stress and those feelings and emotions are probably, while building a startup, coming from the fact that you're building a startup, and this is impacting a lot, and you are going through like huge growth yourself. I mean, in some sense, you have to grow at the same speed or faster than your startup. Otherwise, your self-growth or the personal growth is starting to stop your company sooner or later.
Well, while you were speaking, I saw a circle that it starts where the business needs or problems, then it goes into what do you feel and experience, and then how do you apply that what you feel for the business context in a proper way, an upwards or downwards spiral as a result.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. But okay, so going to this business founder psychology mentoring, and then the psychologist or psychotherapist, not everyone does it. It calls for curiosity, open-mindedness, some level of humbleness also. How do you feel, what has shaped you to be that type of person who does these things? Maybe if you look back even at earlier experiences in your life.
So what type of people does need?
What has been such in your life that has shaped you to be curious about these deeper self-development aspects? Also self-discovery, like who am I and what are my values?
I think majority of that has come to me, or the realization has come to me while I was building the company, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Before that, I looked at life way more kind of simple, in some sense simple way, and I felt that some things just are as they are, and I didn't really ponder on them that much. I mean, maybe a little, but at least I felt way stronger. I think way stronger this like common stigma towards mental health and all those kind of self-development, even self-development books and all that stuff around there. There is really strong stigma in the society, like how they are felt, even like just mentally. Like if you're physically ill, it feels like, oh, we all are in some sense, or
time to time,
the other time to time, and usually people act on it and do something. But if you're mentally ill, then it's something that you should hide. It is really bad. you should be put down in a like facility and you're not gonna let me. So it is so weird because like I mean they are not that different, like physically ill, mentally ill, and the fact that you're mentally ill is, I mean, it's such a strong and loaded phrase.
Yeah.
But I mean, it does not mean that you have to be put down in a facility and stripped away from society because you're mentally ill, and because people will associate that phrase with being like crazy or like. But even with being physically ill, like I mean, you can just have a runny nose, you can just have a little bit cough. You still like probably don't go to work or stay at home and try to like make yourself better. If you don't, it can spiral easily into going even worse if you don't deal with that. It's the same with I think with mental health, that if you feel a little bit down, then it does not mean that you have to go even stronger and now I'm gonna get through it. I mean, be conscious about it. It's fine to do it, but be conscious about it. Like it's also okay to kind of take a mental health day and stay at home and make sure that you take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And all that, and also in the bigger picture.
By the way, I also, parallel to working with a mentor, have a psychotherapist. Now I'm working with a female psychotherapist. In the past, for several years, with the men. Mm-hmm. And I remember once, very vividly remember once he told me, I said something about used certain diagnose for myself, and he said, let's not use labels. Because when we say a label, for example, mentally ill, mm-hmm. then it kind of finalizes the discussion. There's nothing else to add to it. Yeah. But instead, just let's talk about experiences, because then you can go deeper mm-hmm. and mm-hmm. understand things better. Mm-hmm. This somehow stuck with me very much, and when I hear in private conversations, let's say my partner says something as a label, I always pull out this, let's not use labels here. And it's very useful. Yeah. But now about the experiences, you yes. as a CEO of the company, what were your experiences that you were struggling with, to the level you can share? Mm-hmm. Here in other podcasts I've heard stories about mood swings and fear issues and control issues and whatnot. If you look back now, what were you struggling with?
Good question. A lot of things, I think, and different times, different things.
Yeah.
One overarching thing I think always was kind of expectations, managing the expectations, my own expectations. What do I expect from myself? What do I expect from the company? What do I expect from my team? From my co-founders? And also, how do I perceive the expectation of other people towards me or towards the company or towards my team, and some expectation of like general society. Like I did relatively like naturally relatively well during like my school years, especially like math and like more those scientific areas were easy for me because I always find logic there and I can figure it out. If it's fact-based and I have to study it, then it's not that fun. and I was good at math and all those things, and so many times over the years of the school and even afterwards I've heard other people saying to me that, oh, you have so much potential and you're going to do great, and then that actually put a lot, like I felt so many times thinking that, oh, I now have to live to those expectations that those people have towards me. And this is a weird thing to work towards for. So that is something that I have been like trying to make sense of and manage a lot, those expectations, my own and other people's expectations about myself and those things that I create, including a company.
Just to add on this, I think the way how it plays out in one's head is that expectations are the voice of you should, and desires are the voice of I want. Mm-hmm. And then the third thing is needs, I need. And maybe the expectations are the most useless ones in this.
That's a good one. Good point.
But do you see it now that expectations was part of the challenge setup for you, or already back then you felt it?
I think it has always been there, and in some sense it's still there. And I think some of those struggles in life that we go through, especially in our heads, they never end. And in some sense, it's the beauty of it that it's never gonna get like easy. I think as easy life as a standard is something that is not worth going towards.
No, but free life is.
A free life, yeah.
And there one thing is that these expectations, when they are strongly embedded in our psyche, we don't hear the voice "you should." We hear "I want," but actually this is not what I want. But this takes years sometimes to figure it out.
Yes. Yeah, I'm really like, especially lately, I'm the fan of the philosophy of in one way or another, life is always gonna be like painful, but you have to find something that is worth suffering for.
Yeah. Huh. So how is it now? What's worth suffering for you?
I think my marriage mostly, and the vision that we have together for our family and life that we are building, and then in some sense, like I also feel that it's worth suffering for seeing the future version of myself. I'm curious. I'm really curious to see who I am in 10 years. It feels really exciting, and I know that it's not going to be an easy path, and I'm not sure like what I have so much time still. I'm 30 now. I can do lots of stuff. I mean, in some sense, I feel that life is starting now.
In a way, this what you did, exiting from a company, also was suffering, but sounds that it has brought a lot of fruits for you.
Yeah.
And this has helped you to avoid a different form of suffering, maybe much duller, more unpleasant form of suffering, if you would stay against your values.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But you mentioned family. Can we talk about your family a bit?
Sure.
So first, how was it when you were leading a startup? Did you have a balanced life or unbalanced life?
At first, probably not, and this is something that I also consciously didn't realize too much. I just dived into it, and I often have also this kind of somewhat. I mean, we all do. Like if you start something new and it's exciting, then you kind of feel easy to submerge yourself into doing that. So it was definitely for the first couple of years of building a startup, I spent like an unhealthy amount of time working on the company. And an unhealthy, I mean unhealthy towards my private life.
You had the same partner back then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So she extended your.
Yes. I mean, she has been enormous support. We have had many discussions over how it was, how it now is, how we have evolved, how our relationship have evolved. I think we both like quite consciously recognize and understand that we have never been in such a good relationship that we are now.
Yeah.
And in some sense, it could have not happened without going through some of those different periods, which helped us to kind of explore ourselves, explore the relationship, build it further, and also accept some things, accept ourselves, accept some things, accept the other the way they are.
So, but if you were for a couple first years immersed into work, what changed? Because I understand something changed for you.
Yes. At some point, first I hired her.
You hired your partner.
And that was also like we had many discussions with her about that, like if it's a smart move, if it's not a smart move.
Yeah.
And now lately I listened to a podcast where there was another example where also the founder hired her wife, and I really resonated with his situation.
So was it a smart move or not?
It was. Yeah,
okay.
Definitely. I would definitely do it again. And the only thing why it was hard was the kind of some sense of stigma in the world of like especially like men hiring their wives into positions that maybe they did not deserve or something. Like there is this type of stigma, you know,
Yeah.
or not even in a spouse format, but also just I know your brother or your cousin or somebody like because there is really easy. I felt lots of pressure how other co-workers are going to take it. Do they feel that this is an unfair situation or fair situation? So it comes back to that like core principle of it should be fair.
Yeah.
Towards everybody, and we had that discussion with the team, with not with the whole team, but I had with a couple of team members, I had with co-founders, I had with my wife separately, and yeah, other co-founders, some of them really also like were ready to stand for that, like breaking that stigma that it's not there, or like bring it more open and talk about it if needed. Afterwards, I mean she was one of the best hires that they've ever done. I mean, like because she already rooted for me, for the company. She was involved even if she didn't want to be, and she in some level or at least she always embraced that, and she knew that and helped me a lot.
So it worked well for you?
Yeah, it worked really well, and we both reflected back that those times that we worked together in the company were like somewhat one of the best times in our like career. That moment everything kind of clicked well. It was the best click in our life when it comes to work-life balance.
Yeah.
And we still kind of, there was still a little bit of kind of juggling about that when we are, and we even started actually using consciously the phrase that, hey, I want to talk to you now as my husband or my wife. Now I want to talk to you as my coworker.
Yes.
And that helped a lot. So those kind of tricks and things. But it was it was nice. It was a really nice experience. I would definitely do it again.
But this works if both are mature and able to put this one or other hat and to respect which hat is on at the moment.
Yes.
So that I don't get resentful that you told that output of my work needs to be changed or something.
Yeah.
But sometimes I hear that in these types of situations there's a different type of problem, that how do you separate that now it's Saturday, it's not a work day. How do you keep work out when it's not work time, if you basically live with the coworker in a way?
Yeah. I mean, I think we had a healthy balance. I think we didn't force and push it back when some work-related discussion naturally came up, because if it's bothering your head, it's easier to just like kind of go through it quickly, figure it out, and then it's way easier to let it go than forcing that thought back. And I'm not gonna say anything. Let's not talk about it right now, because it's gonna come back. It's gonna be like rotating in your head, and then you like feel some maybe even worse like anxiety because you haven't like figured it out, and so it's in some cases, if it doesn't need deep work and opening up a computer, then we prefer to have those discussions quickly, because it felt better for the both of us. It just like, I mean, and essentially, I mean, you just, I think in some sense there is I like to think about the work-life balance, about not just like work life and private life. It's just life, and like try to figure out how your life would make sense the most and how it works, and having those discussions even on Sundays worked for our life, like I think the best. So we didn't push it back towards, but at the same time we consciously took time to like do other things as well and plan other things. The life balance in general was good.
So now if you would have an opportunity to hire again, you would
of course
go for it?
No questions asked. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have had that discussion many times. I mean, we've even flirted with the idea that like, why not start a company together?
Yeah.
I mean, and when I was listening to a startup podcast, and the founder of that podcast and that startup that they were talking about, like he was in a similar situation, and when I was listening, I had a like big realization that it makes so much sense now, like, because I had this like kind of feeling in myself that maybe it's not like right thing, or maybe there's too much, I don't know, risk, because everybody knows that business partners, I know, fight and ruin the relationships. So I felt that maybe starting a business together or working together in general would put our relationship in higher risk in some sense. And I'm in some sense I'm still feeling that there is like maybe like it's another stressor that you're bringing into your life for sure. But if one of us is going to start a startup, it's gonna be there anyway. The topic of one of us building a startup, why not do it together? But about the podcast, what is a really nice realization was that he was like also like the same way, super scared about doing that, discussing with co-founders, discussing with team, discussing with wife, consciously speaking about this topic in a mature way, and then finally called his investors, like the main investor, like, hey, I have this problem here, like she's actually a really good fit, but I'm still struggling, like and the investor response was, man, this is literally the most stupid question you have ever asked me. Of course, hire her, like immediately, like, do it, because you have lived with that person for a long time, and essentially when you're hiring people, you want to find people who you have just good time with first, and second, you know that your values your values are aligned. You know the nooks and hooks and even the flaws about each other. So there is no better that person than your life partner. So that was the point of the investor. That
Makes
of
sense.
Course, do it.
Can you say what's the name of this podcast you're referring to?
It's literally title is Startup. But it's by Kimlet Media. Kimlet Media was this startup that they started.
Yeah.
And it's a startup about podcasts, and then they started a podcast about building their own startup.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Thanks for referring. So coming to the final phase of our podcast, I want to still come back to with what we started and ask you. Now, in retrospect, how do you feel if someone feels interest to dig in their own, who am I and what are my values and what would I want to do, but they're not in a position to take a sabbatical year for whatever reason.
Yes.
But at the same time, these types of questions take time. What would you suggest, or how would you approach it? Let's say if you would be not able to walk away with any money or...
A good question. So one thing that I realized also during that kind of downtime or slower time is that figuring that out did not just come now that I have time. The time will fill itself with other things really, really easily. You naturally will find always easier things to deal with. I first like submerged into like gaming and other things that were just fun and easy, and working with yourself and thinking those things through are not easy. And looking back now, it did not necessarily need a sabbatical. I could have done it with just like sitting down in the morning for an hour and thinking about things that I'm feeling or going through. So in some sense, taking that sabbatical helped me to realize that it still takes like work and having free time, like more free time, necessarily didn't help too much. But I mean, I assume and think that yes, indeed, removing some of those energy training daily activities like going to work is helping a lot. But I felt that naturally I found really fast some other replacements to take my time and energy if I did not consciously direct it into those topics. So I would say the first 3 or even 4 months I didn't do any conscious work regarding about myself, but maybe that kind of reset was also necessary. And I do consciously know that I was in a privileged position to have that time to go through also this 3 or 4 months of not thinking about stuff and not having to work. So in some sense, even I would say like a weekend or like one day off is good enough. But then you have to take that off time consciously kind of work with
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
Write down, as I said, write down things. That is the easiest. Like just sit down and write down what are you feeling, what are the things that you're struggling with, why you think that these kind of just ponder on those things, and you have to take consciously time for that. Otherwise, it's not gonna happen ever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I sometimes ask if there's struggle, then the question is, what is worth fighting for?
Mm-hmm.
And then if the founder says the company, then I would ask, well, company is a tool for the thing that is worth fighting for. What is the thing? Well, the team. No, but the team is also fighting for something. What are you all fighting together for? And this is now the moment. What is it?
I've been there. Yeah.
Because to make money, you can make money with many things, but what's worth fighting for? Yes.
Yeah. And all the people who have started startups say that if you want to make money, there are easier ways to make money than building a startup.
Yeah.
So it's really hard way how to do it. I mean, eventually, if you get lucky and you're working really hard for a really long time, then yes, you will be rewarded potentially accordingly, like with the huge success. But just becoming rich is not worth building.
But then, in such case, what's your take on such situations that someone is working on a startup with a plan to exit after 5 years, cash out 100 million, and then they have plan already what I will do with this money then.
Yeah. There's so many startup founders like with that mindset. I've met so many of them, I think it's a constant story that they tell is that I'm building finishing that company, then I will get rich and then I will do what I actually want to do.
Yes.
And then like I'm like, but what would it take so you could actually start doing it now? Like, do you really need like 100 million euros in your bank account to actually do it now? Maybe you find another company that is working on that passion. Do you specifically need to be the founder or CEO of that company, or you can work towards that passion with some other people that also have the same passion? And so there are. I think it's the misconception of that some things need huge amount of money before I can work there.
Some things might need, but it's possible also to start small and to fundraise.
Yes, and then some of those topics are actually like way more towards helping, I know, people in need, and then you feel like, okay, I will get 100 million and then I will start spreading it or start funding initiatives that are not capitalistic kind of money printing engines themselves. They are NGOs and more humanly caused, maybe in some sense, that are run purely by human effort and money.
So meaning sometimes in these stories there's let's call it objectively legit reason to go after it, but sometimes it is not so. It's more just maybe going out after seemingly easier road.
Yes.
Which actually is harder road.
Yes. That's the thing with really hard startup ideas as well. That if you find like an idea that sounds like too crazy that this cannot be done, then in many cases those are the ideas that actually become really big things because they have such a big ambition and concept and craziness already built into them. Compared to ones that seem obvious and easy to do. If you are pitching an idea to your friends and they say, oh, that makes sense, that sounds like easy to do, then it's it's not a good sign in some sense that you feel, okay, it's not ambitious enough, because majority of those really big success stories, the first feedback about those ideas were like, it's never gonna work. Majority of the feedback that those people receive is that it's never gonna work. Like, why are you wasting your time in such a crazy thing? And they do work because they put lots of effort in a long period of time in there. They inspire other people to come along, and as they are so crazy, there are not that many other people who are willing to take those steps. And they become successful eventually.
That's by the way why when someone asks me like, here's an idea, what do you think about it?
Yeah.
I usually say that it doesn't matter what I think about it.
Yeah.
What matters is what your potential customers think about this idea. Go and talk with them.
Yeah.
You can ask me what I think about how you're going to fundraise, or is
Yes.
this team member a good fit
Yes,
for you,
yes.
but not if the idea itself is good or not.
Yeah, it's a really natural thing to feel that somebody will say, yeah, it's a good idea, work on it. Like, of course, do it. It sounds so good idea. But once you get that reaction from someone, then it might be a too easy target in many cases.
Okay.
If you are going towards that kind of high growth, big success startup story, you want to become a unicorn or even decacorn or more, then having crazy ambitious ideas is might be better compared to like obvious ideas, because obvious ideas are either already done or they are not done because of reasons, and you are not the first one having that idea. You're not the first one who's going to try it.
Okay.
Never going to be. Yeah.
So to conclude, I want to ask you, if you were the person who would need to choose a title for this episode, what's the subject? Maybe not the exact title, but what's the subject?
Wow.
Or the through line?
I want to say something about expectations of life in some sense. That has been some underlying thought in my head. I'm not sure if that actually sounded out like that throughout the whole discussion. Probably not, but managing your expectations and life. Something like that.
Not living like you think others expect you to live, but to live so that it feels meaningful to you. Also, something on these lines.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yes. Meaningful. Yeah. Meaningful life, I think, is also a good one.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Madis.
Thank you.